Welcome to the Truman VA's Healthy Teaching Kitchen. My name is Lindsey Koelling, and today we're going to be making a zucchini boat pizza. So it's a little bit different than a traditional pizza, but a great way to get some extra vegetables in and some lean protein in it. So I went ahead and browned up some of our ground turkey. Now this is a 99% fat-free, so we're helping to reduce some of that extra saturated fat, so making it a little bit heart healthier for us. Now this recipe only takes about 1/2 pound of your ground turkey, so any leftover that you have is a great opportunity to freeze for another recipe later, or even doubling the inside mixture of this recipe and then freezing that. That way the next time you want to make it, just pull that out of your freezer, let it thaw out, stuff your zucchinis, and they'll be ready to bake. So it'll cut your time in about half. So since we already have our turkey ground, we're gonna go ahead and start cutting our zucchini. So we want these to look like boats. So we're gonna take our zucchini, and the recipe only calls for 2 zucchini, and it'll actually end up making 4 servings, 1/2 of a zucchini each. But these are pretty small, so I went ahead and got 3. So kind of look at your produce that you're picking, and if you can do a little bit more, it'll give you some opportunity for leftovers for lunches the next day. So we're just going to take our nice big knife and we're going to cut off the ends, get both of them off there, on all 3 of our zucchini. Now on the inside of your zucchini you'll have some seeds, and that's the part that we're going to discard and get rid of. Now if you wanted to keep some of that, maybe you wanted to dig out a little more of that zucchini, that's definitely an option. I would encourage you, if you take too much of that inside out, to go ahead and put it in your inside mixture, the stuffing for this recipe, because that will give you some extra fiber and a little more veggies in it. So you can see kind of that line where the seeds are, and we're just going to take our spoon, get you a bowl, and just scoop it out. Okay, so you just kind of take the side of your spoon, scoop it all the way down. And it kind of works good if you use the edge of your spoon first to kind of dig out those seeds, and then just take the end of it and finish scooping. So you can see it makes a nice little pocket for the insides of your zucchini boats. And we're just going to do that with the rest of our zucchini, again using the sides of your spoon. For that first cut. And scooping that out. Zucchini is a great addition to a lot of different sauces. So not only this pizza recipe, but if you have family members that maybe aren't the most excited about different vegetables in their foods, this can be a great one that you can put in a food processor, or even if you have a hand grater and grate it pretty fine. It'll hide into sauces really well, so you don't necessarily taste it, but you get some extra fiber and another way to get some vegetables in, especially as we're trying to maybe make some healthier choices. All right, so scoop that one out. All right, once you get those scooped out, we're gonna go ahead and put them into a baking dish. So I'm just using a 9 by 13. They fit pretty good in there. If you have more than this, you'll either need a long sheet pan that you can put them on, or just use 2 pans in your oven. So before we start making the filling too much, I wanna go ahead and cut one of the peppers, because we're gonna make this a little bit more like a veggie pizza topping. So if you were to get a supreme pizza. So we're gonna go ahead and cut our red bell pepper. So pepper sometimes can be a little bit challenging to cut. A lot of times we try to cut the center part out first. Unfortunately, that gives us a little more opportunity to cut ourselves because we're really just trying to take that knife and kind of dig it out. Not necessarily the safest option. So most peppers have a pretty flat bottom and they'll stand pretty solid, which is nice. So we're gonna go ahead and just take our chef's knife again, and we're gonna angle it just slightly, and we're going to cut around the seeds that are in the center. And you can see we just get a nice flat piece. We're gonna turn our pepper, do that same angled cut again around those seeds. Turn it again, cut another time. Now, once you get to this last cut, it does get a little flimsy, so I'd encourage you to go ahead and lay it down at this point, just so you don't cut yourself. And you can just take your knife and kind of go around that last little part, and we've got our seeds out of the center of it. And we can just discard that. All right, so we're just gonna take this real quick, slice up some nice pieces to sprinkle on top of our pizza boats. And remember that anytime you're cutting or chopping, you want to make sure you're pushing the blade of your knife away from your fingers. All right. Now, we're gonna go ahead and move this out of the way just for a second, and then we're going to mix the inside of our zucchini boats. All right, so we have our ground turkey that's already been browned, and we're going to add some marinara sauce to this. So we're gonna add about 1.5 cups. And if you like a little bit more sauce in yours, you can add a little bit more. If you don't like quite as much, again, modify it to what works for you. So put that in there. All right. Then to this, we're gonna add a little bit of seasoning. Now, on the seasoning, we're gonna add some oregano and basil. You can add it at this point, or you can put it in whenever you're browning your ground turkey. And that way it's kind of throughout the whole mixture if you're gonna freeze some of it for later. So we're gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon of oregano and 1/2 teaspoon of our basil. And we're just gonna mix this together. All right. So once this is mixed, we're going to go ahead and fill each of our zucchinis with a little bit of the mixture. If you wanted to go ahead and cut up some of your turkey pepperoni and put inside of this mixture, you can. If you're more of a fan of your pepperoni on top, you can lay them on top, which is what we're going to do today. We're just going to evenly distribute this. You can see it fits nice in those little pockets of our zucchini boats. And again, if you have some of that mixture left over, you can freeze it for later. You can cut up some more zucchini and put it inside of it, or you can just kind of set it to the side in your pan and bake it without the zucchini under it if you have quite a bit left over. All right. So on top of this, we're going to go ahead and add our pizza toppings. And this is where you can really have a lot of fun with it. If your kids want to help you or family members want to kind of modify and make their own, they can. We're going to just use a little bit of turkey pepperoni today. That has a little bit less of that saturated fat, again, compared to traditional pepperoni. So we're just going to put a couple slices on each of them. And then we're gonna add some of our veggies. So I just have a few mushrooms that we're gonna put on top of here. But you can use anything from carrots to some of your leftover zucchini, go ahead and put on top of here, to some of your peppers that we chopped up. We're gonna put a few of those on there. If you like olives, go ahead and add those. And then we're just gonna top it with a little bit of your mozzarella or pizza style cheese. Now this is a finely shredded, it will melt a little bit quicker than a thicker shred. And we're gonna put this on top. And then we're gonna put this in the oven and bake it at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. And you have dinner ready. You really just want your zucchini to be nice and soft and your cheese to be melted and your filling to be nice and warmed through. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. All right, so our zucchini pizza boats have been in the oven now for about 25 minutes. So I went ahead and pulled them out. You can see that they're getting nice and crispy with your pepperoni. The cheese is nice and melted. Our zucchini is nice and soft. So they are ready to serve. You can serve them warm, cool them off a little bit, or take them for lunch the next day. So this is a really quick, good weeknight recipe. A little bit of extra vegetables in it too. So check back with us every so often. We're gonna have more recipes to come. Thanks for joining us today.